Did you know that avoiding risks can actually shrink your brain's ability to grow and adapt? It's true. Science shows that stepping out of your comfort zone isn't just about chasing adventure, it's fundamental to how we learn, evolve, and progress. Now let me ask you something. When was the last time you took a risk? I'm not talking about skydiving or starting a billion-dollar company. It could be as simple as speaking your mind in a meeting or trying something completely new. What did that moment teach you about yourself? Risk-taking isn't just an action. It's a mindset. It's how we face fear, welcome change, and ultimately grow. Today, we'll uncover why taking risks is essential, not just for success, but for survival. We'll also explore how the philosophy of Søren Kierkegaard, one of history's boldest thinkers, can guide us in accepting risk without being paralyzed by fear. Ready to rethink risk? Let's break it down together. Let's start with the science of why avoiding risks holds us back. Did you know that your brain is wired to excel through challenges? When you step out of your comfort zone, your brain releases chemicals like dopamine and activates pathways that help you learn, adapt, and grow. But when you avoid risks, you're essentially depriving your brain of its workout. It's like walking into a gym and refusing to touch the weights. No challenge, no growth. Let me give you a simple example. Remember when you learned to ride a bike? The falls, the scraped knees? Every tumble was a little risk, but it was also a step closer to success. Without those risks, you'd still be standing next to that bike, too afraid to pedal. Growth happens when we embrace those wobbly moments. It's not just biology. There's a deeper, more profound reason why risk-taking is crucial for growth. For that, we turn to one of the greatest philosophers of all time, Søren Kierkegaard. His perspective on risk has the power to transform how you view fear and opportunity. Let's explore the wisdom of Søren Kierkegaard, often called the father of existentialism. He had a fascinating perspective on risk. He believed it was essential to living authentically. According to him, taking risks isn't just a bold action, it's what he called a leap of faith. And that leap is how we confront the unknown and step into our full potential. Here's the core of his idea. For Kierkegaard, risk is tied directly to freedom. He argued that without risk, we trap ourselves in a state he called despair. What kind of despair? The kind where we cling to routines and safety nets, even when they leave us feeling stuck and unfulfilled. Think about it. Have you ever stayed in a job that drained you, or a relationship that felt secure but didn't inspire you? That's exactly the kind of despair Kierkegaard described. It's not the loud kind of suffering, but a quiet, nagging feeling that something is missing. What Kierkegaard teaches us is that taking risks isn't just about facing fears, it's about reclaiming your freedom. Every time you make a leap, you move closer to a life that feels truly yours. But here's the question. If risk is so freeing, why do we fear it so much? Let's unpack the psychology behind our fear of taking risks. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, fear. If risks are so important for growth, why do they scare us so much? Turns out, it's not just one thing. It's a mix of instincts and emotions that keep us stuck. First, there's the comfort zone. We're wired to seek safety. It's part of our survival instincts. Back in the day, staying close to the cave kept us alive. However, the truth is, while comfort zones feel cozy, they can also turn into cages if we never step out. Think of your comfort zone like a warm bed on a cold morning. It's great for rest, but can you imagine staying in bed forever? Nothing meaningful happens there. The moment you step out, even if it feels uncomfortable, you create space for growth. Next, let's talk about failure. It feels final, doesn't it? Like a dead end. But here's the truth. Failure isn't the end. It's feedback. Every stumble teaches you something you couldn't have learned otherwise. Think about this. J.K. Rowling's first Harry Potter manuscript was rejected 12 times. Imagine if she gave up after the first rejection. She didn't. And today, her story is a global phenomenon. Failure isn't about falling. It's about what you learn when you get back up. So the next time you're afraid to try, ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? And what's the best? Sometimes, it's not the risk itself we fear, it's what others might think if we fail. But here's a little secret. Most people are too busy worrying about their own lives to think about you for long. Imagine this. You make a bold move, and someone raises an eyebrow. Will that moment matter a year from now? Probably not. The truth is, the only person who has to live with your choices is you. So why let fear of judgment hold you back from a life you truly want? Let's shift gears and talk about how to take risks in a way that feels empowering. We've talked about the fears holding us back, but let's flip the script. What happens when you take the leap? The rewards are bigger than you think. First, there's personal growth. Risks teach resilience. Each challenge you face builds a little more strength in your emotional muscles. Think back to the first time you spoke in public. Your palms were sweaty, your heart was racing. It felt impossible, but you did it. And now, it's easier. That's growth in action. The magic of risks is that they make you realize just how capable you are. Risks don't just grow you, they spark creativity. Every great invention, every breakthrough started as someone's bold idea. Think about the Wright brothers. They risked failure, ridicule, and even injury to invent something the world had never seen, flight. Or Elon Musk. He risked his fortune chasing dreams that others called impossible. But it's not just for big names. Posting your first TikTok, trying a new recipe, or launching a side hustle, all of these are creative risks. And they have the power to change your world. Risks build authenticity. They align you with your true self. When you take risks, you stop living for others' approval and start living for yourself. Every time you step outside your comfort zone, you're telling yourself, I believe in me. And that's one of the most powerful messages you can send to yourself. The beauty of risks is that they aren't about perfection, they're about progress. And with every step, you become a little more you. By now, you understand the value of risk-taking. But where do you start? Let's break it down into steps that feel doable, not overwhelming. You don't need to quit your job or pack your bags for a one-way trip across the globe to start taking risks. Begin small. Speak up in a meeting where you'd normally stay quiet. Try a hobby you've always been curious about. Painting, salsa dancing, or even cooking that intimidating recipe. Small risks build momentum. Each one chips away at the fear, making bigger risks seem manageable. Let's talk about failure. It's the big, scary word that holds so many of us back. But what if we saw failure differently? Thomas Edison once said, "I didn't fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was an invention with 1,000 steps." Each misstep wasn't failure, it was feedback. What if instead of asking, "What if I fail?" you asked, "What can I learn?" Because failure isn't the end. It's the beginning of growth. Life is unpredictable, and that's what makes it beautiful. The unknown isn't something to fear, it's something to welcome. Ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? Most of the time, it's not as bad as we imagine. The truth is, staying in your comfort zone feels safe, but it's also where dreams go to die. Taking risks is where the magic happens. It's where life happens. Next time fear creeps in, remind yourself, every great story begins with a leap into the unknown. Now that you're ready to take risks, let's talk about how they transform your life over time. Let's look ahead. What does life look like when you start taking on risks? The rewards extend far beyond what you might expect. Each risk you take is like lifting a weight at the gym. It strengthens your belief in yourself. Over time, you realize you're capable of more than you ever thought possible. Remember that time you stepped out of your comfort zone. Maybe it was asking for a raise, starting a project, or even saying no to something that didn't serve you. Think of how that moment shifted your self-image. That's the power of risk-taking. Taking risks isn't just about achieving goals, it's about living in alignment with who you are. When you embrace risks, You stop choosing what's safe and start choosing what's meaningful. You stop living for others' expectations and start living for what lights you up. It's not about being reckless. It's about making choices that reflect your true self, even when they're scary. When you look back on life, it's rarely the risks you took that you regret. It's the ones you didn't. It's the what-ifs that weigh heavy. Every step outside your comfort zone is a step away from regret and a step toward a life you'll be proud of. Risks don't just shape your future. They shape how you'll feel about your life when it's all said and done. Now that you understand the rewards, let's reflect on how you can start applying these ideas today. Take a moment to think, what's one small risk you can take today? Maybe it's speaking up in a meeting, starting a project you've been putting off, or simply saying yes to an opportunity that scares you just a little but excites you even more. Remember, taking risks doesn't mean being reckless. It's about choosing growth over fear, freedom over safety, and building a life that feels authentically yours. Every leap, no matter how small, brings you closer to the life you want. If this resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments. What's the risk you're ready to take? I'd love to hear your stories. Like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs that little nudge to take their leap. Let's build a community of bold risk takers together.